Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. Hey, it's another year, another time to make some more money, and I've got the course for you. Start the conversation, get the meeting will help your team, both business development, sales development, get into those new cold accounts, whether that function is under marketing or sales. I'll help you with that by starting organic, natural conversations, not pitching. Have people open up with you, build up a connection with them, understand your total addressable market, prioritize it, and put in a system that scales, that's predictable, that works the way you want it to work instead of the old school pitch. Believe me, I've sat through so many of these cold calling seminars, courses, books, and I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's evolved. And what I'm doing today is what's working in today's world. It works naturally, and people are just loving it, getting meetings, closing deals, and doing it without the rejection that is typically there in sales. So check it out at b2brevenue.com under the training tab. You can schedule a call with me. We can talk it over. I'll explain how it works and how we can work together on it. You can buy it per student, or I'll customize it for your particular product and team and coach you through that process. Also, if you're a sales leader and you want predictability, you want direction, momentum, and control with your deals, you can sign up for that course as well. Same type of model. A year-long access to it. It's content, community, and coaching, all included at b2brevenue.com. You can get my free ebook there on how companies make product selections. That's all free. Let's get into the interview, but I want to make sure you're checking out my partners. They're in the show notes. This week, it's Pipedrive and CoVideo. Pipedrive is the new CRM. It's been out for 5 years. I've been using it forever. I love that. It's connected up with your email, your calendar, and now they have team capabilities. CoVideo is the video email system. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's the way to break into new accounts. It's so much more engaging than text. Check them out. Also, make sure you're checking me out on LinkedIn, Brian G. Burns on LinkedIn. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end. Is it Kara?
It is Kara, yes.
Okay. Here we go.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Hey, Kara, thanks for joining us today as a way of getting started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I'm a content strategist at Zaius, which is a CRM for e-commerce marketers. We help empower them to bring together data and execution in one platform. And I've been in content marketing for, I think 7 years now. And before that, I worked in journalism, and I've had a lot of writing and a lot of content in my life for a long time.
And you've probably seen a lot of change, huh?
I have. Yeah. I always like to joke around that I worked for print newspapers. So if that gives you any indication of how much my life has changed, that I used to, submit copy and it would get printed and people would read it.
Yeah. I used to deliver print newspapers. So.
Yes.
Now, what you're doing now, is it hard to connect with your target market, or what channels do they really care about?
So it's interesting. The e-commerce world is just really vibrant and really crazy, and really there's a ton going on at all times because there's just so many new companies forming. There's all of these brands kind of coming out of nowhere to really dominate the space. So it's a really exciting time to be in e-commerce, but there's a lot of noise. So that's our biggest challenge, is standing out from the crowd and really offering the most useful and interesting content that we can, especially when, there's 100 publications just covering the industry, let alone all of the company blogs and other things that we're competing with.
And who do you say your salespeople want to sell to? Who's their target persona?
So our target is definitely a moderately mature, kind of digitally native brand is really what we like to see. We sell to other companies as well, but that what we call a DNVB, digital native vertical brand, is what a lot of our customers are. Because, we can't get enough acronyms in any industry.
and blonde, right?
Yes, yeah, digital native vertical brand. So if you're thinking about maybe some companies you've heard of, like Away, the luggage company,
Okay.
or trying to think of some other ones, or like Allbirds, the sneaker company, they do something very specific. So it's a vertical, that is just, they're selling maybe a few products, but they started online and they're really tech savvy and they know how to use Instagram marketing and Facebook marketing and targeted ads and all kinds of different tech to power their growth. So those are the kind of people that we're looking for.
Okay, those are the companies, but who within the company has the problem that you guys solve?
Specifically, we're looking at marketers. So
Okay.
we have software that helps marketers do their jobs better, and they're doing a lot.
Yeah.
So as you may have guessed from mentioning all those different platforms they're using, and then you're using email, you're using, you have to have your site optimized. You maybe have a retail store that you have to bring in data from. So we help these marketers unify all of their data from all these different sources and then use that data to power campaigns. So it's often, if it's a smaller company, it could be the head of marketing that's using our product. If it's a larger company, it could be, director of marketing. So it depends on the size of the brand, but it's often somebody who's in a marketing leadership role.
Cool. And your responsibility at the company is to generate content to attract them? Is that?
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
I gotta get their attention with a cool, shiny object, which is always hard.
And how have you evolved doing that? I mean, what channels do they like? What modalities do they watch, listen to, read?
So I think everyone is different, and you can't say that, our target audience only likes to read blog posts, because that's just not true. So my goal was to be everywhere that our audience is online, which is a little bit of everything. So, we produce written content. We have, blog posts and white papers and reports and that kind of traditional content. But my goal was to really branch out and do more multimedia content. So we have a podcast called The Empowered Marketer, where I interview, various marketing leaders at different e-commerce and retail companies. And then we also have a video series called Marketing Unboxed, where we order products from different brands and we open them up and look at them, and then we do an analysis of their marketing. So, we order something like a pair of shoes, and then we say, okay, how many emails did we get? How many ads did we see? What do we think is working well? What do we think is not working well on their website, on their emails and their ads, and do this really in-depth analysis in under 4 minutes, if possible, which is a challenge. But it's really fun, and it's been a very successful series for us because, video content just does really well. So, podcast, video, written content, everywhere that we can be.
And so you're trying to engage your exact personas in your content development, whether they're existing customers, prospects, or just complete strangers?
Yeah, so I would say my real focus for our content is more of an ABM strategy.
Okay,
so
good.
We choose specifically who we're going to invite on the podcast and what brands we're going to feature on the video is based on who our sales team is trying to get in touch with. So my goal as a marketer is always for the sales team to love me. That's all I want. I just want them to be like, Kara's the best.
Yeah.
How's so that working? It's not doing so bad. I know it's unusual for marketing and sales to get along, but that really is what I want. And so I, go through our target account list and I choose brands that I think are interesting. So I don't really, I'm not compromising my editorial standards and doing really boring episodes just to close a deal. Sorry, sales. But if I'm like, oh, this A would be a great customer, but B would be a really interesting story, then I want to feature them. So I will then have them try to reach out to them, see if I can get somebody on the podcast. If that doesn't work, then we'll just feature them on the video series. And it's really working so far. We've actually had results from this in terms of generating conversations and opportunities for sales.
Yeah, because it engages them, it publicizes them, and it's much more of an icebreaker than it is a pitch.
It is, yeah, and it's flattering, and if somebody says to you, I want you to be on our show, instead of just like trying to sell you something. So it's really building the relationship first.
Yes.
And then moving into the sales if they want to. Obviously there's no pressure. I'm not selling them. I then pass it over to sales and they can follow up and say, I loved your episode, or did you see this video? And it's not a high pressure sale. It's just like, if you're interested, now that you know who we are and we kind of caught your eye, would you like to take a look at our software?
And I think that's really neat, because I would think that trying to sell what you're selling is hard because you're in a new market space, you're doing something new, you're a new company.
Yep.
And the marketing stack is pretty thick.
It is. If I don't know if you've seen that MarTech infographic that everyone's seen. It has 8,000 different companies on it.
Yeah.
And our brand's on there. It's a little dot in that terrible infographic somewhere. So yeah, it's really competitive. So whatever you can do to stand out and just get people to recognize the name of the brand alone is, starts the process. So then they can, go read up on our reviews on G2 Crowd and maybe talk to one of the companies that are using us today. Read a case study. That just gets them down the path. And that's what I'm trying to do, is just set them up so they're thinking about Zayas a little bit.
Yeah. And within your company, do they have the sales development role under marketing, or is it completely under sales?
It is completely under sales at the moment. We are discussing.
There's an evil plan.
This is an actual discussion going on right now about whether, the business development function will report into marketing. Because we recently hired some new leadership on the team, and we're kind of talking about possibly changing that, which is interesting. I've heard of other companies doing it that, it's been said to improve alignment. So maybe we'll see.
Well, I think it's really good. And I was, at first, when I had heard of it, I was almost completely against it. But now I've kind of changed my mind, because when it's under sales, it's very binary. They're either interested or not interested, as opposed to building the interest in a market like yours.
Yeah. And I think what's good about it is it eliminates the fight for credit that sometimes happens. Was this a marketing sourced lead, or was this a sales sourced lead? Instead, we should be on the same team. We shouldn't be arguing about who gets credit. So if they're under marketing, it eliminates some of that problem where, if there's an inbound lead that comes in, sales still gets credit if they convert that to an opportunity, rather than fighting about who sourced it, or sales sourced it, or marketing. It doesn't matter as long as it turns into a deal.
Right. Yeah. And trying to determine what white paper, or where it converted, or it's connected to this consultant over there. Kind of that attribution craziness that I think happens.
Yeah. And we do really want to know what is converting best. I mean, from an attribution perspective, for me as a marketer, I want to know, is our content converting at high rates, and which content and which topics are resonating? So we're not ignoring attribution, but we're not letting it define our process. We're just using it for information.
Yeah. And have you found any consistency between podcasts, video, written? Is it pretty much equal? Or, I mean, because certainly in my market, selling mostly to sales leaders, I haven't found the marketing mix yet for CMOs. I find that a real mystery.
Oh, yeah. I feel like the higher up you go at the company, the less likely they are to consume content, because they just don't have time. It's so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard to reach that person. Yeah. They can barely, read the news in the morning, let alone read a, white paper that's 15 pages long. But I think that a lot of the times our in is with the lower level employee who's really trying to educate themselves. They don't know as much yet, and they're looking for help. And then they'll maybe often push it up the chain and become your, internal advocate for the brand. So that I think has worked, especially with some of our more tactical content that's like really, heavy with examples and giving you real strategies for how to do more complex marketing. Like I said, e-commerce is just exploding and there's so much going on and so much changing all the time that people are always looking for an edge. And if you can offer them some content that shows them how to do something a little differently or what the best brands are doing, then they're definitely interested in it.
And are those people, the people at the lower levels that have the problem that you solve daily, are they on LinkedIn or are they a Facebook, Instagram crowd or YouTube?
It's definitely a mix. We've been getting very good results on LinkedIn with video, as I'm sure is not a surprise, because they're definitely over optimizing for video right now. But I would say our video on LinkedIn is performing the best. And then we've also done some paid promotion of our more in-depth white papers through LinkedIn and Facebook, and those are actually performing really well too. So we're lucky in that we can get really targeted with who we're going after. We have some pretty good lookalike audiences we've been able to create and really push the content that my team's creating to the right audience who are really interested in it.
And do they have a particular title, or is it all over the map?
It's a little bit all over the map, but there's a lot of email marketing managers and directors of marketing, or directors of e-commerce is another one, which really means marketing e-commerce. So, but yeah, it depends on the size of the brand, and we're still refining our ideal customer profile and trying to figure out like really who's most successful when they use Zaius. We know that, for example, a one-person marketing team really is not a great fit for us because you need someone to really learn the platform and focus on it. And if you're a one-person team, you struggle to do that. So we like to say that marketing-led organizations with a team of like 3 or more are our ideal company, but we're still working on it. And, it's a startup. Things always shift and change as you get more information.
And have you, as far as like on the quality versus the quantity spectrum, found a happy equilibrium, especially like with video? Because video you can, certainly more than podcasting or blogging, you can really invest a lot of time and money. Yeah, I feel like the debate is between like, do I just do a video on my iPhone while I'm walking around for like no money, which works, or do you invest some more production value in? And we opted to do more production value, specifically because our target audience is marketers. Exactly.
And they're creating like really slick, cool videos for their brands. We can't be sending them some like crappy video. So that's really what we chose. But we found an interesting balance where we're working with a video agency who does all of the editing for us. But I actually am filming all of it ourselves in-house. So we bought the equipment and we have set up a little studio and we just film it all in-house. So that saves us some money in terms of like, we're not hiring a end-to-end production team to do this for us. So we kind of found a good middle ground, I think, but our final product looks very professional.
Yeah. But because that also slows down the amount of quantity that you can do with the ABM strategy.
Yeah. So right now we're doing 2 videos a month, which is kind of a lot, I think, but it's not super high volume. So yeah, we can only hit so many brands, which is why we're being very choosy about who we put on the series. But if even one of those, deals converts, it could cover the cost of the entire series. So that's really what I like to think of it as. It's worth the investment, I think, and it makes sense for us.
That's it. So that gives you, 25 a year. So I bet that discussion is pretty fiery with sales.
It is funny, because they're like, how are you choosing these? And I was like, I choose them based on what what I think is going to be an interesting brand and has a cool product. I have a list that I'm choosing from, but I'm not choosing based on like who's assigned to that account. I try not to look at it because, I don't want to get in trouble for that.
And how about as far as the podcast rate? Is that the same twice a month or once a week or?
Yep, it's also twice a month. And so that one we've had a mix of both prospects and customers, because customers are also really fun to have on. And we like to maintain a great relationship with our customers too. So it's nice to just have a conversation, sit down with somebody, as you well know. So I really enjoy doing that. I host that and I produce that myself, and I schedule everything, and I make sure that I'm managing the whole process so they have a fantastic experience being on the show, and they come away with a really good, feeling about Zayas, feeling about the podcast, and just like talking to me, which has worked really well because people who I've had on the show now, will email me if something interesting happens, or will share something with me that I didn't know about before. And it's really helped me build an interesting network of people in this e-commerce space that I wasn't in before. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It is a great way to connect and network with people and to get a good, half hour plus conversation going. And how about as far as advertising your content? Have you gone that direction as well?
So we haven't done a ton. We've really focused more on organic at the beginning. We've done a little bit of paid behind the videos, but not a ton. We're, like I said, we do some paid ads, but it's really been, let's see what we can do with just organic, see what results we can get. And, if we want to really pour some gasoline on that fire, we can reallocate some funds. But so far, it's doing pretty well on its own. So I would rather build an audience of people that really love us, even if it's small, and are really engaged. I don't need to be, the number one e-commerce podcast on iTunes, because 90% of those people aren't really our target audience. I just want to find the right people who are really engaged and really, really want to listen.
Yeah. And how long do the videos typically go?
So like how long the video is, like total?
Time-wise, yeah.
Oh, it's about 3 to 4 minutes.
Good, yeah.
So it's not too long. We're not doing, like a 15-minute video, because people have short attention spans, myself included. So we try to keep it pretty snappy, and it's a fun experience, I think, hopefully, for people who watch it. The beginning, you get to we unbox the product and we look at it. We look at the packaging. We say like, oh, what's, is it branded? Is it unbranded? Does it look cool when you open it up? What's the experience of that like? And then we take a look at all of the marketing, and we show like screenshots of emails, screenshots of ads, and just really look in depth at what these different brands are doing.
So that answers a lot of curiosity, and it's kind of a compliment too.
Yeah, a lot of the times, we're saying that they're doing a great job, and we only have maybe like 1 or 2 small critiques. I think we actually are putting out next week our first really mean video, like the first time that we're like, oh, that was rough. That was not great. So keep an eye out for that one. And hopefully we won't upset people. This is a risk that we take, that, the people who we're analyzing their marketing, they could be really upset that we're saying these things about them, because they're working hard on it. I know that I'm a marketer. I know that they're putting in a lot of effort into the work they're doing. So even when we're kind of really being a little harsh on a brand, which we will be soon, there's still takeaways that we're like, they did a great job on this, they did a great job on that. We recognize the good work they're doing, and we just say, hey, here's a couple things you could do better.
Now looking at 2019, how do you see your content strategy evolving or changing compared to like last year?
Yeah, so all of these things we launched last year, and I feel like 2019 is all about refining and growing those series. So I'm continuing to experiment with, the formatting, how we promote things, are there different online communities that we could get involved in that would be interested in this content? Like I said, maybe we'll invest more in paid ads. It's just figuring out.
Yeah.
We're proud of the things that we're making, and we think that they're good, and we want people to see them. So how do we figure out the best way to promote them and get more people to engage?
Because that's now the challenge. Because now there's so many people doing so much good stuff that it's harder to stand out.
Oh, it's so hard. And there's so many people talking about that right now, about cost of paid ads is rising. It's getting harder and harder to get organic traffic to your site when there were pages like, Inbound closed down. That was a great location where you could share great content and people would consume it organically, and that's gone. So there's certain things that have changed in the marketing landscape, and it happens all the time. But every year I feel like it gets a little bit harder. And you just have to get creative and try to figure out a new way to stand out.
That's it, because as soon as you figure it out, then everyone starts sharing the blog of how they figured it out. Now everyone's figured it out.
Exactly.
It's changed.
But if you can be one of the first ones to come up with a new tactic, then you're going to be fine.
I think you got about 7 to 9 months, maybe.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And in that time, you have to collect as many emails as possible and build a great list of people who really want to engage with you. There's been a whole talk lately about the resurgence of email and how email is more important than people really thought. They thought it was going to go away, and it's just still strong. And if people are subscribing to your newsletter and they actually open it and read it, you're in good shape.
And so email is a big focus for you guys as well, or is it just not under your venue? Or
Yeah, I create the content for our emails, but we have an email marketing team, demand gen team that pushes it out to our audience. But I actually write the copy for our email newsletter, for example, and try to make it really fun and not just a whole list of links.
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of emails that I read, like the newsletters I actually subscribe to and read. So, the ones I open and read every week are entertaining and interesting and have something to say rather than just sending me a roundup of posts.
Cool. Hey, this has been a great conversation. Where do people go to connect with you, learn about your work and your company?
Yeah, so if you would like to learn more, you can go to Zaius.com. That's ZAIUS.com. Yes, it's a crazy name. It's based on a sci-fi character, if you get that reference. You can also connect with me personally on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm at Cara Hogan 27, CARAHOGAN 27.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Hey, make sure you check us out on LinkedIn. And B2B Revenue is the website. You get the free ebook there. You can learn about the courses. You can also check out my YouTube channel, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube, where I store both these podcasts, my videos that I do daily on sales and marketing tips, all the webinars are hosted there. So if you ever get lost and you don't know where to go, Brian Burns Sales Podcast on YouTube is a great place to be. And you can sign up to get on my calendar at B2B Revenue under training, and we can talk over your sales and marketing situations about getting you into your dream accounts in a fast, natural, organic way. And if you happen to see my content fly by on LinkedIn, I'd really appreciate a like or comment or a share, and we'll see you next time.